Hello, this is Delusional-Lobo here. I hope you guys are doing swell today. So, for one, this video has to do with what Main Man has showcased in his video as to how to properly fight against Yoshimitsu, right? So some of the misconceptions that the Main Man states in the video, and again, I'm not trying to harp on him or anything like that because he has his own opinions on the matter of the character, and, you know, he also has some really good points, and I will also post certain clips of what he stated in the video so that I can then show you exactly what parts of his video that I find to be a misconception, so that way, you know, you'll have an idea as to what I am talking about in this video. Alright, so let's get to it.
And step 2 is never tech roll against this character. Like, he'll launch you, do something like this. If you tech roll here, he'll just run in on you and do another unblockable. Like, I'm sorry, but this shit is just broken.
So for one, he mentions that in the case of Samurai Cutter, right? That this doesn't really have a proper way to beat. Like, there's no counterplay to this. You have to basically either just stay grounded, or if you do get lucky and you do make a proper hard read on the Yoshimitsu, that okay, you can try to then Saito Kemi away, or you can try to do a hop kick to then beat the Yoshimitsu from attempting to go for the Samurai Cutter, right? It doesn't have to be a hop kick, it can be any type of kick that jumps over the Samurai Cutter. Now, the thing is, you can actually beat Samurai Cutter by sidewalking to the right side. Now, the issue with this is that you have to be very preemptively sidewalking to the right side, right? If you do it too late, you're going to get hit, even if you're already sidestepping to the right side or sidewalking to the right side. But the thing about Samurai Cutter is that Samurai Cutter does have its own problems where, depending on the access point of the opponent, even if they are slightly to the left or slightly to the right, especially to the right side, this would actually whiff completely. So you gotta be careful as the Yoshi player when you're using Samurai Cutter in the neutral. It's a lot better at the wall, that's where it becomes quite broken. But in the neutral, Samurai Cutter isn't as scary for most players that I come across at the ranks that I'm currently in than if I was playing against people that were in the lower ranks, like around the middle of blue ranks or lower. But again, this does have a counterplay to it. So as long as you see that they're going to go into the Samurai Cutter, and you preemptively sidewalk to the right side, you can beat the Samurai Cutter. It's not like it's black and white that the only way you can beat it is by doing a hop kick if you make the proper read, or that if you were to go for a Saito Keme, that's the only way that, you know, the Yoshimitsu can just take you down and you have no counterplay to that. Then he mentions that if you were to go for a particular type of setup with the Samurai Cutter, let's say as an example, that if Yoshimitsu goes for a combo and then decides to go for another loop, right? As you see here in this demonstration, if the Yoshi player were to go for another loop, by the time that you are on the ground and you decide to hold back, you will be too far from the Yoshi player to actually get hit by the Samurai Cutter. They can constantly just do this, continue shimmying through, or just run at you even more so and then perform it. But they have to then have a bit of time to then perform this. If you're seeing them doing this and you're not doing anything about it, that's really on you. I'm not trying to like harp or trying to make you sound stupid, or if you're the player in this regard, right, that you find Yoshimitsu to be quite broken, which I am not saying that he's not broken in some aspects, but I am saying that if the Yoshi does this and he's shimmying through to go for a setup and you're just allowing him to do this, that's really on you. The other thing also, that if you do get up instead, you can just go for a hop kick right there if you have a hop kick for your character. Like if say you're playing Steve, just go for an up forward 2 or an up forward 1, and that would work against the Yoshimitsu. Because again, they need time to perform this. They need time. If you were to go for a Saito Kemi, then yes, they can catch you with a Samurai Cutter. But if they perform any kind of loop or any kind of setup where you're constantly having to get up, and then the Yoshimitsu goes for the Samurai Cutter setup, you simply have to hold back. And if not, just immediately get up by pressing up or holding up, and then you go for a hop kick. That will beat their attempt to go for the Samurai Cutter. Now you may say that what if they're not going for a Samurai Cutter? What if they go for some other setup? What if they want to launch you with, let's say, a hop kick of some sort, right? You can do the same thing. Sidewalk to the right side and you can beat it. So even if they're setting up a samurai cutter to fake you in this idea that they're going to go for samurai cutter, but they go for a hop kick instead, you can still sidewalk it to the right side to beat it. Same thing if it's CD1, or in this case down forward into 1+4. A lot of Yoshi players do this. I do this myself as well in my gameplay, whenever the opponent is already too mentally exhausted as to what I'm going to do next, and then they're pressured. So I built the mental frames onto them, or into them I guess, and then I go for my full crouch into down forward 1+4, the CD1 in this case, and I catch them off guard. But you can just simply sidewalk to the right side to beat it. He also mentioned specifically wall standing 2-1, and again, you can simply just sidewalk to the right side and you can beat it. You basically have, like what, 3 particular versions of launches that he can go for to try to trick you, and all of them can be beaten by simply just option selecting and going for a sidewalk to the right side. That will beat all attempts. Now, the thing about this, it's not really an option select, because if the Yoshimitsu wanted to, he can just go for a full crouch down forward. He can catch you with that method. But because a lot of players do tend to have the reaction speed to just simply, oh, I'm a duck or block the incoming move, and they're thinking it's going to be the samurai cutter, because again, it's like a deer in the headlights situation where they see the move and they won't react quickly enough. But that's really, I feel, another type of misconception. The misconception when it comes to that is that I have my moments too whenever I do a mirror match with my viewers or with my subs or whatnot, that they watch, you know, my stream and they want to get a game against me, and they end up doing the same setups that I already know for Yoshimitsu and go for samurai cutter, right? And I get hit by them a lot of the times. But it's not because I can't react to it. The issue is that I look at the move as if I'm a deer in the headlight situation, right? I look at the move and I'm shocked. Like, I'm just like afraid of make a move because I know that the samurai cutter is coming out, but I'm hesitant on really doing anything, like a hop kick or sidewalking to the right side. And that's why a lot of players get hit. It isn't because they can't react to it, it's that they immediately assume whatever Yoshi's trying to do. It's like how a Mishima tries to go for their Weibu dash. You don't know what to do because you're just assuming they'll do anything, right? They'll do anything, but they're just mindlessly just spamming their Weibu dash against you, and you just don't do anything. When you just immediately interrupt them and do anything to basically beat their attempt to go for whatever it is that they're trying to go for, right? It's the same shit with samurai cutter. They just look at it and they do nothing about it. Deer in the headlight situation. So the move in itself is reactable. It's just that you have to then see the cues. If you see that they're trying to crash, they're gonna go for the samurai cutter, and if not, they're trying to set you up. Maybe they're gonna go for a hop kick. Maybe they're gonna go for CD1. Maybe they're attempting to go for wall standing 2-1. Or maybe they won't do nothing. Maybe they'll wait and see what you're gonna be doing, to go for a hop kick, to go for something, and then they'll catch you off guard. That is the one component of Yoshimitsu's gameplay that is quite strong, overpowered, or even broken. Then he mentions that the only way to really beat the wall particular setup when the Yoshimitsu's in heat and they go for the forward 1+2 spam, right? In this case, if they were to attempt to do that, you can just simply Saito-Keme. But he states in the video that you cannot Saito-Keme, you cannot perform it. If you try to perform it, you will get caught. That's not true. If you already make the read that they're going to go for the forward 1+2 in heat or not in heat, you will be able to get away with a quick Saito-Keme.
If he has you at this situation, like at the wall, and he's in heat, like he'll just infinity loop these until you stand up, and then he'll heat dash out and you take chip, and now you take this mix up. All you can do is take that wall combo. That's all you can do. The counterplay is just having him hit you grounded for 1 billion damage. So again, it's just fundamentally broken. This is broken as well. So this is another wall combo he'll do. Heat, back on 1, forward 1+2, and then chain these until you stand up. But again, that's a good Yoshi player. A lesser Yoshi would probably go for this immediately But what I'm saying is, do what Arslan Ash does. Just stay on the ground and see what he does.
Now, this is a little bit of a nitpick, really, and it's not that I'm upset with it, but it's the fact that he states that the better Yoshimitsu player can only really go for this option, the forward 1+2 spam, instead of going for whatever he thinks that is considered to be the better option. And in my opinion, I don't think so. I think it's the reverse. I think the more competent Yoshi player, if they're wary of what you're going to be doing next, will instead wait and see what you'll do. If you are not doing anything in that scenario, where you're just getting spammed with 4-1+2, or you think that they're not going to do it right, then you go for a side okami. And if not, if you would stay still, then that's where the Yoshi player will just continue spamming their 4-1+2 over and over again, catching you off guard, because you're not side okami. So in reality, it's the Samurai Cutter setup that's the scariest part. That is where the situation can easily lead to where the Yoshi player has the advantage, that you can't really do anything. If you don't get up, then I spam my 4-1+2. I have to wait at least a quick second to see exactly your reaction, and if you do something in the lines of going into an immediate side okami, then I'll just go for something else. I won't really go for the Samurai Cutter unless I know for sure that I make a proper read. This all has to do with the Yoshimitsu having a read on the opponent if they're going to side okami, or go into simply staying on the ground and then getting caught by the 4-1+2. But this all has to do with the read. It's a 50-50 situation. If you make the right read, you get away from the 4-1+2. If you make the wrong read, then you'll get hit by it. If you side okami and you don't think they're gonna go for the Samurai Cutter setup and just for the 4-1+2, then you also get away. It's a very tight situation where the opponent, you as the player who's fighting against the Yoshi player, will feel very distraught. In my opinion, this is where Yoshimitsu is at its strongest. It's when he puts you at the wall. This is where I find that Yoshimitsu is actually quite broken, because once he puts you at the wall, you have to make a guess, an actual 50-50 guess. What is he going to do? Then the other misconception is that he mentions that if you perform the guard break setup, which is another particular setup that Yoshi has that is quite broken in its own right, but I will explain what they could do to kind of nerf it and what they could do to keep some aspects of it in line, depending on what you guys may think in the comment section once you see the video.
Oh my god, right. There we go. It has to be NSS. This is guaranteed, by the way. All you can do is take that wall combo. That's all you can do. The counterplay is just having him hit you grounded for 1 billion damage.
So now, if I, or in this case the dummy, performs the guard break setup at the wall, he mentions that there is no counterplay, or in the sense that if you get hit by this particular setup, that you can't do anything. Just stay grounded and do nothing, right? If you try to side okami, you will get guard broken. That's actually a lie. You can actually beat this particular setup at the wall. A simply quick get-up kick, you can actually beat the setup. You can also attempt to go for a toe stab, or even a wake-up kick to hit the Yoshimitsu out. Even a spring kick if you're quick enough though, because there's a timing to it to actually performing the spring kick to land the move. So right as the attack is about to land, you can actually then perform a spring kick. So it has counterplay to it. You have to be quick about it. You can decide to go for the better option, which is a toe kick. It does less damage, but it's faster. You can go for a quick kick up. I gotta forget a quick recovery. Just go for that. Or you can just go for a wake up mid kick instead. But the wake up mid kick is a little slower, so there's a chance that you may end up getting hit by the charged up 1+2. Now, of course, if he were to decide to go for the non-charge version, then you will get hit by the move, but that's the point. You're not worried about the non-charge version, you're worried about the charge version, which gives him the guard break. So again, it has counterplay, unlike with the one where in the neutral, if you were to be in the center stage, that if I were to go over something like this, then of course I get the guard break. And it's actually very specific to the combo route you're going for, the one that I just did just now. It almost leaves no room for counterplay because you can't really back roll to get away from the move to create space. And you really can't just, do really anything like a toe kick and whatnot. There's several combo routes you can go for that would make it easier for the opponent to actually find a counterplay. I have videos on it on my channel, so if you want to find it, it has to do with guard break setups, and you will find it on my channel, so that way you'll see that there are some type of guard break setups that does still work, but there are actually ways to actually counterplay to it. So that's essentially it. That's only the portions of his video that I am trying to iterate. That is a bit of a misconception, that there are ways to counterplay, there are ways to do something else to counter the particular route that Yoshi is going for. But besides anything else, it's quite true to what he stated in the video. A lot of the moves that he has in his kit, like in the case of 1-1, while you're in no sword stance or in heat, the fact that it has a counter hit property at the last hit, if you try to retaliate, it gives him a launch, and the fact that it wall splats, right? Though, in my opinion, if I were to state anything, and this is where I'm going to get into the point of what could they nerf with the guard break setup at least, and then the other parts of his gameplay. So, for one, if the opponent is lying down, grounded, right? And I decide to go for, let's say, my guard break setup. I feel that the only thing they should do to nerf this is make it so that the last hit, no matter if it's charged or not, doesn't hit grounded. This way, they at least have a chance to go for, let's say, a spring kick, or a toe kick, or a mid wake-up kick, right? That way, they can beat the setup with some form of retaliation. So that way, the mistake that the Yoshimitsu made was that, okay, they thought that they built enough mental frames against the opponents, and so they go for this particular side of the counterplay where they just stay grounded, wait for the move to whiff, and then they can go for the spring kick for the most damage. So that is one way that I assume they could go for the nerf. This actually still keeps the guard break setup as usual, but at least there's counterplay to it, just stay grounded. And then the last thing is that if you do get the guard break, instead of getting back 2-2, just get down forward 1-4 instead. That way you don't have to worry about getting hit by the back 2-2 if you're in heat to get the free launch with the heat dash, or just getting the move itself and then still getting a heat engager right afterwards, which then gives Yoshimitsu a mix-up because he's plus 17 because of the heat engager. Some have mentioned that they would like to keep, the ability to go for 1-1, so that way if they do go for the guard break setup and let's say they're in heat, they can go for this instead and get a wall splat if they're near the wall. So it's kind of similar to how in the case of Paul, that if he goes for his guard break setup, he's able to then land his, I think it's back to 1, I could be wrong here. And if you're near the wall, this gives him a wall splat and then he can go for a combo, right? But again, if they were to keep that particular trait of 1-1, of course, a lot of players are going to hate Yoshimitsu even if they were to nerf everything else in his kit, right? Like his damage and anything else I'm about to mention in the video. If anything, what they should do is simply just make it so that 1-1, the last hit, either in no sword stance or in heat, doesn't have the properties that counter hit launch. That's the one thing that I can think of. And that way he can still keep the wall splat, at least the wall splatting portion of the move, so that if it's near the walls, they were to do so, right? I mean, if Heihachi can do it from a 1-1-2, then why not also Yoshimitsu? If they just tone down the damage significantly, then that way he still keeps the move, at least from my perspective. This is my own bias speaking here, so, take it as you will. Then when it comes to the wall setup, which again, this is the part that I think that Yoshimitsu is quite broken in, and that is once he places the opponent at the wall, that he has the momentum to basically just shut you down with anything that he wants to pull off right afterwards, because now you have to eat up the 50-50, right? So what they could do instead is that if the opponent is near the wall, and they decide to, let's say, for whatever reason, they want to, use the setup, right? The one thing that I think they can do is simply just make it so that 4-1+2 doesn't flip them. So if I do this, they can't do anything, right? The best way to nerf this is simply just make it so that the move cannot flip. Now, what's funny is that they done this to Gehosen. In Tekken 7, you used to use Gehosen as your flip move, but it doesn't flip anymore. So if I were to do this with Gehosen as an example, a demonstration, what would happen? if you stand up immediately, you can actually block it. And mind you, Gehosen is minus 17. So saying that it's minus 17, you can just get a free launch with this move. Now, in the case of forward 1+2, in this case, it's minus 12. So if you were to nerf it so it doesn't no longer flip the opponent, and if you continue spamming the move just to try to spam it because the opponent is still afraid of you, so they're gonna stay grounded, then okay, you continue going for that. But if they know that all they need to do is simply just get up quickly and stand up, then they can block the 4-1+2 and it will be minus 12. Now, I think that 4-1+2 should also be nerfed, in a sense that instead of being minus 12, maybe minus 13 to minus 14. In one of my last videos that I mentioned about nerfs coming from another particular supporter of mine that made a Google Doc explaining what he thinks that, what kind of nerfs and buffs that Yoshi should receive. One of the things that he's mentioned was that if the move itself should be minus 15, right? At least minus 15 for it can be a launch punish, depending on the state that he's in. So if he's in heat, it should be minus 15. But while he's not in heat, the particular moveset itself changes. But I'm not going to mention it any further than that. You can look at the video yourselves if you want to see exactly what the video entails. So that's really what they could do to fix the whole problem with the Oki setup at the wall. Just simply make it so that the move doesn't flip. Or in this case, what I would do is that I tend to do this instead. This is what I do instead when I'm fighting against my opponent. I don't go for the flip. I just go for a couple of back ones, and then once they get up, I go for Samurai Cutter. If they're quick enough, they can still kick you with a hop kick of some sort, or they can still go for a spring kick, or they can go for a toe kick. They have options. They have a counterplay to what they can do against you. There's no counterplay to this. Well, there is a bit of it, but it's actually very tight, and there's barely any way they can really beat it besides simply just either Saito Kame making the read that you're not going to go for the 4-1+, they'd be going for the 4-1+2, or you go for the Samurai Cutter and then they eat up the Samurai Cutter. So they really have no choice, is what I'm getting at. But with that nerf, they have a choice. They have a means to actually counterplay. So yeah, that's about all. Everything else that Main Man has said in the video is correct. I feel that yes, there's a lot of things about Yoshimitsu that really feels broken in his gameplay. Mostly because of the fact of heat being a big thing in this game and the fact that they buffed a lot of his movesets. I don't agree with a lot of other things that people will say about Yoshimitsu, like his neutral is good. It's really not. His neutral is butt ass at times depending on the opponent. And again, this just depends on your matchup knowledge with Yoshimitsu. Of course, players that don't know the matchup, they're going to think that a lot of these buttons are really strong. But once you know the counterplay to them, which is one, sidestep or sidewalk to the right side, you can beat all of his neutral. In fact, some moves like this, which is down forward 4, is one of his best neutral tools in the game. It's safe on block and it's +4 on hit, can be stepped or sidewalked to both sides. Even down forward 1 can be easily banned by both sides. So it's arguable that his neutral game could seem really good, but from my experience playing Yoshimitsu, his neutral game is actually quite ass. But besides that, everything else, like I just mentioned, Main Man has actually, I side with what he is stating in the video, is what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, that's about all. If you enjoyed the video and you learned something new in the video, then yeah, okay, give the video a like, subscribe to see more of my shit, dislike the video if you want to, and yeah, stay tuned, stay safe.
Salute to all my fallen soldiers. I reminisce of a time gone. I never thought I would be in a war zone. Big salute, recipe to my man Tone. We got a club on. In other words, in the early morning, we used to get chicks in the suite. Casino comps